What if the way you've been telling your life story reveals the secret to what is holding you back? Stories play an integral part in how we see not only ourselves, but the whole world. Stories are more than just an important part of communication. They also reveal hidden aspects of our inner talk, which can either support us or end up holding us back from the very things we want most in life, without us even realizing it. Join author, mindset coach, and award-winning singer-songwriter Carrie Rowan on her show, Look for the Good, every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. when she shares nuggets of wisdom from her internationally best-selling book, Tell a New Story, 5 Simple Steps to Release Your Negative Stories and Bring Joy to Your Life. Carrie's powerful stories and compelling guests will empower you to change how you look at your own life while giving you some powerful tools and tips you can use every day to help you feel better and move yourself closer to the life you've been longing to live.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Look for the Good. I'm your host, Carrie Rowan, mindset strategist, and I love sharing nuggets of wisdom about the stories we tell each other, and more importantly, those stories we tell ourselves. You can join me and my special guests as we share our personal stories of strength and triumph every week here on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. You can listen online in your mobile device, in your car, or ask Alexa to play Dream Vision 7 Radio. Tune in every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. to get real stories and tips on how to turn your story and your life around. And evolve with us as we unite humankind with universal love. Hello, everybody, all my listeners out there in Radio Land, and welcome to the show. You know, we love talking about stories on this show, the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. And I can't wait to introduce my special guest to you today because this is going to be a really powerful episode. We're going to talk about so many incredible things because when Scarlett and I were talking earlier, we found we had so much in common with our work and our themes. We're going to dig into that today. And we're really going to explore that story. The moment that the things happen, the things that we wish didn't happen in our lives, because we all have those things, right? And then we make stories around those things. And sometimes those stories are the very thing that keep us stuck. Why? Because things happen, like I said, that we didn't want to happen. So we create stories to make sense of our lives. And unknowingly, we forget, we give away the fact that we actually have a choice. We have a choice. Do we want to stay in that victim story? Or do we want to take what happened to us? Do we want to take those broken parts of our lives and turn it into something beautiful, right? Because we have that choice. So don't forget, my friends, when you're in the middle of that story that seems like it just can't possibly have an ending that you were hoping for or wanted, you can turn that story around to be something that helps other people, something that serves other people. I feel as if we can find a way to bless our wounds and make them the place where the light comes in, we can transform not only our lives and our thinking and our perspectives, we can transform the lives of everybody around us in a positive way. And we can stand up and be the light and make that choice that says, you know what, I don't want this story to rip my whole life apart. I want to do something about it. I want to help the world. And I feel like this really describes my guest, Scarlett Lewis. Hello, Scarlett. So nice to have you on the show.
Hi, Carrie. So great to be here.
And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Scarlett because I have to read, I only read small bios, but this is awesome and you got to hear her whole story because it's totally moving. So, do you mind if I read this?
Sure.
I know it's not always comfortable when people read our bio. So, Scarlett became an advocate for social and emotional learning, SEL, and character development to help children manage their emotions, feel connected, and have healthy, meaningful relationships. She created the Choose Love for Schools program, a no cost, comprehensive lifespan, next generation character and social emotional development program that teaches children how to thoughtfully respond with love in any situation by using the Choose Love formula. And we're going to talk about that because it's really powerful. And she offers ways for children to handle adversity, have courage, have those courageous conversations, and to respond with love. Choose Love extends beyond the classroom through additional no cost programs, including programs for the home, communities, athletics, and the workplace. In addition, the movement offers Choose Love Cares program. We're going to talk about that as well. And experiential educator wellness workshops for school teachers and educators, and multiple extension programs. The Choose Love program had been accessed in over 50 states and in more than 120 countries, reaching 3 million children. Wow. Scarlett Lewis is the author of Nurturing Healing Love, A Mother's Journey of Hope and Forgiveness, a memoir of her journey towards choosing love and forgiveness. From Sandy Hook to the world, How to Choose Love movement transforms lives. An in-depth look at how Scarlett founded the movement and its impact around the world today. And Rose's Bowl, a children's book with photographs by Scarlett Lewis that tell the poignant story of a beloved horse and her newborn foal. Since the tragedy, Scarlett has spoken across the U.S. and internationally to diverse audiences, sharing her empowering story and the organization's far-reaching programs, urging everyone to become a part of the solution to the issues the world is facing. Scarlett's spoken at multiple national, statewide, and community-based events, including hundreds of talks at schools addressing educators and administrators. In 2022, Scarlett was named the Bloomberg Business Week's 2022 Bloomberg 50 and was a featured speaker at the New York Times Deal Book Summit 2022, alongside many of our world leaders, CEOs of businesses, and emerging leaders. In 2021, Scarlett was named a Forbes 50 over 50 Impact Honoree, one of 50 women leading the way with impact and changing their communities around the world in ways big and small through social entrepreneurship, law, advocacy, and education. Wow, Scarlett, that is a lot of stuff that you're doing. Thank you so much for doing that for our communities. I really appreciate everything you do.
Thank you, Carrie. I appreciate your message as well, obviously, because it's very similar. And I think that the world needs more of this. This is what I don't want to say we're lacking because we have it. It's just choosing it.
Love that. Yes, it's the choice, right?
Yes, right.
Because we forget, right?
We forget it's a choice.
We forget it's a choice.
I,
Right?
I talk about this all the time, and sometimes I forget it's a choice.
I was just going to say that because one of the things you said to me that I wrote down when we talked is we need to be reminded every day. I mean, this work that we've done for a lifetime, this is a lifetime of work compiled, right? And even if you look at this side of my desk, it's covered in sticky notes. Why? Because we are human. We forget. We need reminders of what our focus is, what our purpose is, what is our intention, right? And that's really what the choice is. It's a choice you make every day from the time you're upstairs and you wake up in your bedroom.
It's either a choice of love or fear, and we don't always recognize it as fear, but anger and hatred, which, we're seeing in our world, is a mask for fear. And so you're either being controlled by fear, or you're commanding the situation by choosing love, and the outcomes are vastly different. It's funny because I just got a vanity plate for my car, a license plate that says something, and when you fill out the application, you get 3 choices. And of course, I was trying to be really creative because I couldn't write out choose love, which is what I really wanted to do. So I was trying to be creative in how to do that. And when it came, it said chose love, like in the past tense. And I thought, I was a little bit disappointed. And then I realized, you know what? It's a great reminder for me and for everyone else. Yeah, I chose love yesterday, but life throws us curveballs. We encounter new situations, and you have to do it all over again every day, multiple times a day.
That is so true. And isn't it funny that you got just the message you probably needed, right? Like we can turn that around.
Not the one I wanted, but the one I needed. Yeah.
I feel like the universe has a really good sense of humor. Like you're like, I want to choose love, right? And it's like, okay, I chose love. I guess I did, right? And we make it work, right? Like it's not what we wanted, but we make it work because that is, I feel like the goal here on this planet is to try to make what is handed to us work. But sometimes it's so hard. How did you
With
turn
strength and grace. You want to make
Yeah.
it work with strength and grace as you move through. You've got one life to live, and you're here to learn and grow. And everything that happens, including pain, is there to help you. Move out of your comfort zone. Or maybe it drop kicks you out of your comfort zone and you leave kicking and screaming like I did. But still, in the end, if you have an open heart and an open mind, you can be strengthened by it.
Amen. That is really beautifully said. And we don't want those kick in the pants. We don't want them. And they come and it's those moments that knock us to our knees. It's those moments where it's our, I call those the absolute worst stories. When someone comes to me with one of those stories, I can't even tell you this story. It's so bad. It's so awful. It's so painful. I know we're onto something because those are the transformative stories, as much as we don't want them to be. And we wish that all that stuff didn't happen. They are, like you just said, is the transformative stories where you have to find a way to pick up those pieces and really make something beautiful out of it. And as an artist, and I'm an artist as well, that's what I feel like the mission of my life has been, is to find a way to make something beautiful out of those broken pieces that we didn't want. And I'm looking behind you at your not people on the radio can't see this, but you can see it in the video if you watch it later. But Scarlett has this beautiful painting, and I thought you did it. And you had told me a student did that for you. Tell us about that because it's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's been amazing how the Choose Love movement and our curriculum for schools has spread by word of mouth and referral. So it's now in every state in 120 countries. So this painting came to us from a student in Nebraska at a Catholic school there. And it's, for those of you who are just listening, it's all these really beautiful colors and it's watercolor. And then it has two hands making a heart with just the index fingers and the thumbs, and then the others are kind of straight, kind of like wings. And then it has the formula, which is courage plus gratitude plus forgiveness plus compassion in action equals choosing love. And so we were sent this, and it was so beautiful, and we actually had it on our website. And then we were having an RV, I call it the Choose Love bus, wrapped for a statewide tour, someday nationwide tour. And the guy that was doing the wrap actually took this painting and wrapped the bus in it. And it's not what we had originally planned, but we all loved it so much because it's just so colorful and happy. And of course, a student did it. So what's better than that? We got to reach back out to the school and ask the students permission if we could use it. And they were so thrilled. So now we have a little plaque at the bottom of the bus saying the student's name and just giving them a shout out. And we're just so appreciative. I really love the creativity of what comes out of the programming. You know, when kids do the artwork or the poems or the stories that they write when they're trying to depict love, it is just fantastic.
Beautiful. I love that. Those are some of the most precious things, right? Especially I feel like the younger kids, they're so insightful, they're so intuitive, and they speak so directly from their heart. And when they can share that, it's just beautiful. And you're raising the vibration of all those schools, of all those people.
Absolutely.
Right? You're teaching them at such a young age to embrace that. It's just so needed in the world. And I love that the kids are giving you that feedback. Kids are always the best audience for a long time when I perform for children. I really miss that because it was one of the most joyful things I ever did. You can't walk out of that room not feeling a higher level than when you walked in there.
Kids are so open to the message of love. And it's been interesting, the reticence of some adults, especially in the beginning. So 11 years ago, when I started the Choose Love movement, it's interesting how people reacted to the name. Just kind of out there, but also in the education field, some were like, "Ooh, love? Are you like choose love? Would you consider changing the name? Is that kind of a little like, I don't know. I don't know if you want to say that." I had one administrator call love corny, and this was in like a religious setting, which was like, what, isn't God love? And
Right?
and then some educators for the older kids go, oh, well, are they going to think about sex when you say love? And you know what's really beautiful? They don't. They know what love, they know what kind of love you're talking about. They know it's the connection, the belonging, which, by the way, not only do they crave that, we crave it. We need it. And when we don't have it, we suffer. And that is the suffering that we're seeing out there. That and the inability or the unawareness and lack of skills and tools to grow through the pain and the difficulty that you were talking about earlier, because you don't get out of this life without pain. And I'm talking physical, mental, and emotional. You're just, we all have had our hearts broken, and we know our kids are going to too. We don't want them to. And if
Of
you're like,
course.
you do everything humanly possible, especially after the murder of a child, if you have another child, like I wrapped JT up in bubble wrap. And but yet still they get hurt. And so it is our responsibility to fortify our children with the essential life skills that they need to be able to learn from, grow through, and be strengthened by any situation that they face. And so that's what we teach, so that kids, instead of resisting and avoiding or maybe numbing themselves from pain or hurt, they have the courage. This
Number
is
one.
the first character
Mhm.
value in the formula for choosing love. They have the courage. Courage is like a muscle. You can practice it to strengthen it, to be able to face the difficulty, not shy away from it, but face it and get curious. This hurts, but I wonder what I'm going to learn from this situation. I wonder how I'm going to grow. How am I going to be strengthened? And instead of fearing it, basically,
Yeah.
yeah, where
Which they're
there's no
taught to,
growth, where
right?
there's no growth. And the fear, let me tell you something, the fear can take you down, it can destroy you, and it can destroy those around you. And I'm talking from personal experience.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. Tell us a little more about that, because I think in this society, we're taught and we inadvertently teach that to our children because we do it. There's so much coming at us. We live in this externally faced world. We're so pulled for our attention, and it's not for anything positive, right? And it's this whole comparison thing and the disconnection thing. So, they've been taught that to suppress those feelings and not feel those feelings. And so, how do you help those kids turn that around?
So we teach them growth mindset, positive psychology. We teach them neuroscience, how your brain works. Not many people understand that data, what's going on in the world, comes in through your five senses and is filtered through your fear center first. And your fear center then determines whether it's going to be hurtful, not just physically, emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
And that either allows it, the fear center either allows it to move to the prefrontal cortex where logic and reasoning reside and the brake on our instinctual reactions,
Mm-hmm.
or it flips the switch, cuts off the blood flow, and you're full on dealing with issues in your freeze, fight, or flight mode.
Yeah.
And some people don't even know that they have a choice, or how to make sure that their executive functioning is turned on so that they can give their highest and best response. Some people just react their entire lives instead of thoughtfully responding. Some people don't have any sort of control, and other people command the situation. That's the difference.
Big time. And I
Choosing
feel
love
like,
for fear.
yeah, exactly, because they choose. And I feel like it's the tools, right? It's what's in your toolbox, right? We all know people that do the knee-jerk reaction thing. It's just they don't even know there's a choice or a space between what happens and how they react. It's just their pattern. And when you can, I love that you're bringing neuroscience and you're teaching kids about their brain so that they can learn, oh, wait, I could actually rewire my brain, because I could rewire it to look for what's good or what's gratitude, right? What's happening? What are the good things that I can see? And I feel like I love that you're normalizing, because I talk a lot about this, the fear factor, normalizing that the brain's just doing its job. And when you can say, hello, brain, thank you so much for trying to keep me safe. I know you're just doing your job,
Right.
but let's look at this is actually not something to fear. This is something that I can switch my mind on. I love that. I love
So
that.
every single time you do that, every single time you thoughtfully respond with love, you are pruning from your fear channels because
Mm.
you're wiring and rewiring your brain through neuroplasticity every day with every thought. So every time you choose love, you're pruning from those fear channels and you're strengthening the love channels. And that's where we all want to be.
I love that. So that love respond, that becomes your automatic knee-jerk reaction.
Love
Ooh,
feels good.
right?
Anger, hatred, resentment feels bad. We want to feel good. And, we can do it in only one of two ways. We can do that by having healthy relationships, by understanding how to thoughtfully respond with love and have uh make those healthy choices, or we attempt to do it through anger, which gives you
Mhm.
a false sense of control. You're not really in control when you're angry at somebody, the other person is. And
Exactly.
people don't really understand that, so they don't understand why that doesn't work. It doesn't work at all, and it leads you down a fearful path. And
Mhm.
so can you imagine a generation of kids that have this simple awareness? It's really kind of, I'm sure some listeners that didn't know this. And by the way, I didn't at 44 years old when my son was murdered in his first grade classroom. And I'm thinking that didn't have to happen. That was 100% preventable, as all school shootings are. I don't
Mhm.
know why I'm the only one that I've ever heard saying that, because it's true. It's just how we approach it. We need to start using proactive prevention. We need to start addressing the root cause of these diseases of despair. Traditionally we react because that's how our brain is wired. And so, like, with drugs, we focus on the problem. That's the drug. So let's do the war on drugs. And let's
Sure.
see,
Mhm.
decades later, we have more drugs and more overdoses before. They're increasing every single year than ever before in the history of mankind. The anti-bullying programs we have in school, anti-bullying never made sense to me anyway. It's a
Right?
double negative. How could
Totally.
that ever be a positive? But
Mhm.
I've given podcasts to best-selling authors that were horribly bullied in their lives, and they say that anti-bullying classes were the worst times for them because they're the kids that were in so much pain. They learned new techniques during that and then immediately tried them out on her. uh,
Wow.
and so that, and then when you think about school shootings, we focus on the hardening and the active shooter drills and everything, and really all that starts with a grievance. That's what the Department of Homeland Security says, starts with a grievance and then stair steps up. What if we, this is what I thought, because I did not want to do the same thing over and over,
Mhm.
expecting a different result. The
Insanity.
definition of insanity.
Right.
So all these
Right.
current movements were happening, and they approached me and they said, "Hey, we'd love to use your voice. We need you a part of this." And I thought, well, this was already going, and it didn't help my son at all, and it really hasn't made a difference thus far. So I want to do something that is really going to help these kids, because
Mhm.
obviously, a teenager, a child who, and usually it starts with a suicidal ideation and then becomes homicidal ideation. Obviously, somebody that's feeling that is in a tremendous amount of pain. And so, how about we address that pain
Mhm.
instead of locking everybody down and scaring the crap out of them with active shooter drills? And by the
Right.
way, not that I'm opposed to that. Unfortunately, that is necessary. But I always have said for the last 11 years, and I think this is the number one most overlooked aspect of school safety,
Mhm.
the grievance end of the pathway, addressing the grievance, giving the kids the skills and tools they need to actually not just manage the grievance but grow through it.
Absolutely. I love that. So well said. Yeah, backing up. A war on anything is just going to get you more of the same, right? You're just
It's
putting
the same
negative.
energy.
It's ridiculous, right?
It's really,
Agreed.
it's so interesting. And I learned that because, after the tragedy, I was watching how everybody was responding to that. So
Hmm.
first of all, it was polarization.
Yeah.
And it was like you were either in the pro-gun or the anti-gun camp, and they each blamed the other, right? It was like finger pointing, fault finding.
Hmm.
And I'm
Hmm.
thinking, well, that's not going to fix
This
this.
isn't
That
productive, right?
anger
Hmm.
and blame is the same as you say, vibration or energy that created the problem, actually. And
Totally.
so that same anger and hatred is not going to form a solution. And that is why I formed the Choose Love movement. Of course, I'm not taking any credit for it. It's Jesse's. I give all the credit to my 6-year-old son, who wrote this message on our kitchen chalkboard shortly before he died. I found it afterwards, and it said nurturing, healing, love. It was phonetically spelled. It's like literally right behind me because I'm
Yeah.
sitting in my kitchen right now.
Mhm.
And I thought, that's it. I'm seeing moms in our community actually changing their thumbnails on their Facebook, and they're giving the finger to the in the thumbnail, and they have a red circle around it and a line through it, like it was like F guns, right? And I'm thinking,
Ooh.
first of all, what kind of modeling is that for
For
your
the kids.
kids or our kids?
Right.
Second of all, that's the same energy that created the problem. That's not going to solve it. And so I saw Jesse's message and I'm like, that's it. That's it.
That
Love.
is it. Yeah.
Love is what connects us all as human beings. Without love, we suffer. So, how about make an organization where everyone can come together? It doesn't matter what political party you're in, it doesn't matter how you feel about guns, it doesn't matter what religion you are, what color your skin. We are 99.9% genetically the exact same as human beings. That means we have the exact same wants and needs, and love is one of those.
Mhm.
And so, this is a way to come together to be part of the solution with everyone else. That's the only way that we're going to solve the issues that we have today in our society.
That is the only way. And I know everybody, you're hanging on. Scarlett's everywhere. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a quick message. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Look for the Good. I'm here with Scarlett Lewis. We're having this incredible conversation. We're talking so much about, do you push against things? It's really the same vibrational energy of what created the problem in the first place. And I heard Wayne Dyer say a few times in his books, and he said that he heard Mother Teresa say, "Hey, ask me to be for anything, but I will never stand against something." And that really just kind of sums it up nicely, how we have to really put our energy in towards the positive and shifting that thought. And that's why I loved so much when I was watching football the other day and saw Choose Love on the football field. I was like, yeah, go Scarlett.
That's awesome. Yes. And I love Wayne Dyer. He wrote the foreword to my book. And he just understood that Jesse came to teach us something really powerful, that love is the answer. And I came to that conclusion really because I'm a single mom and I had a 12-year-old son that survived Jesse. And I knew that the way that I dealt with this tragedy in our lives was going to teach JT how to manage difficulty, pain, upset, all the way to trauma for the rest of his life. And I wanted to model that positivity for him. I wanted to model strength. And I did not want to spend the rest of our lives fighting against something. And that's what I saw other people doing. I saw them name calling and blaming. And gosh, when you blame somebody, talk about having no control. Unless and that's another thing that I did. I took my part of the responsibility for what happened that day. And I had people aghast at that, including both of my parents. I don't think they've agreed on anything in 35 years except for that. But, I said it's really important that these things, these issues are happening in our communities. And if we're not responsible for them, then that means that we're victims. And I did not want to be another victim of Adam Lanza. Adam Lanza was the former student of Sandy Hook that came back and perpetrated the crime. I didn't want my 12-year-old son to feel like a victim. I wanted him and myself to really, I had this word that came into my head right after the tragedy, and it was joy. And it was that I wanted to get back there. That's what we had before. And that's what I wanted again. I wanted it for myself. I wanted it for JT. And I knew that that's what Jesse would have wanted for us. So I had to really create my own roadmap there because there really wasn't one for me. And so I this is the Choose Love movement. This is my roadmap towards flourishing and joy, and translated for kids and for homes and communities. But really, this was my exploration of how do I get back there myself after this tragedy. And it was being for something. It was being for love, the strongest element in the universe. Love is the only thing powerful enough to overcome everything that's happening in our world today. You think that it's brute force and hatred, and you could hate more, but you really can't. But you can love more, and that is what solves things ultimately.
Absolutely. And there's an unlimited supply, right? We,
Mhm.
we all have access to it, and there's an unlimited supply, and that's not something that we're going to run out of. And
Exactly.
it's learning how to access that. It's again reminding people we know that, but we get so caught up, like you said, in that victim story, the victim story. And I love that you just said that, and I can see how you turned a lot of heads with it. I'm going to take responsibility for what's happening in my own community. Because when we can take 100% of responsibility for our own lives and what's happening instead of the blaming, and like, hey, wait a second, that introspective piece of it, that's what transforms people. That's what changes your perspective,
I
right?
tell you what, that's what overcomes things. And you, if you're on your phone blaming the other party for not passing laws or for passing laws, you are not part of the solution.
Mhm.
If you put your phone down and you get up and you take responsibility and you actually do something, then you are. And then something amazing happens. Everybody thought I was a little bit crazy in the beginning for saying that, but it was the best decision I ever made, because I was able to be part of the solution. And, the opposite of anxiety and fear is positive action. So I'm out there doing positive things, sharing a message, an empowering message, and changing and even saving lives. And in my helping and healing others, I help and heal myself. And really, that may be one of the most powerful lessons that I've learned. And this is, by the way, backed up by research, is that when we have the courage to step outside of whatever's going on in our life, even our own pain and suffering, to help someone else, we help and heal ourselves. And I think that we have gotten so far away from that, and so many people don't understand that. There was a recent survey done by character.org, and they found that only 5% of people knew what the golden rule was. And
What?
yeah, listeners, the golden rule, you guys are all saying it in your head because you listen to this podcast, but it's so important that, if we lived the golden rule, do unto others as you would
Right.
have them do unto you,
Hmm.
treat others the way you want to be treated. If we lived that, this world, there'd be no need for laws. Like, I mean,
Right.
goodness. And by the way, that's a choice.
It
That's a
is.
choice that you make every day. And yes, you have pain. Yes, you have trauma, but you can lay down those burdens with forgiveness, with having the courage to consider forgiveness. You can fortify yourself, you can strengthen yourself to even consider that through gratitude. This is I'm going to the formula now, which we teach,
Yes. Hmm.
having the courage to be grateful even when things aren't going your way. That literally can shift the focus of your lens from negative to positive. We can only focus on one thought at a time.
Hmm.
That means that you can have an inward focus and you can be spiraling down, and actually that's how depression happens.
Yeah.
You are thinking about yourself, you're perseverating on your problems, you're ruminating. That is depression. When you have the courage to have an outward focus, to consider someone else's needs, that is the key to overcoming loneliness. That is the key to overcoming depression. That is the key to having healthy connections. That is the key to having a healthy sense of belonging. And
Yeah.
by the way, that's the key to helping and healing yourself. We know
So
that
true.
hurt people, well, healed people heal
Heal
people.
people. I love that. And there used to be a big billboard on the highway by me, and it said, to ease someone else's heartache is to ease your own, right? And it's so true.
Beautiful.
We don't realize that. And you got to
Yeah.
step out of yourself when you're feeling those low feelings and go do something for somebody else. Go volunteer. I have a friend of mine that came on the podcast. She said, you know, she every day she makes sure that she leaves her office, gets out of her own head, and she'll just go somewhere and do something nice for a stranger. Hold the door open, go to the grocery store. I'm like, where do you find these people? I don't know. I go to the bank, I go anywhere. She just goes about her business. But when she does it, she makes sure that she finds a moment to connect with somebody and do something kind for somebody else. And it'll change your whole entire day. It's a small little act, but that starts accumulating, right? Most people think about, like you said, the negative stuff accumulating and our minds going down the spiral. The good stuff accumulates just as quickly, even quicker, and it changes your whole entire life. Because as
You know
one
what I
daughter said,
love? I love, and I love that there's research behind all of this, everything that
exactly.
we're saying.
Yep.
But Barbara Fredrickson, who's a positive psychology researcher, she wrote a great book called Love 2.0. And she literally found that you couldn't go through the checkout line in the grocery store.
Mhm.
And if you make an effort to make a connection, some sort of connection, look somebody in the eye, share a smile, share a little connection, the same neurochemicals, those feel good neurochemicals that are love, start to flow through you. And they're the same as a couple that is having a candlelight dinner celebrating a 30-year anniversary is feeling, because the joy isn't, it's like a micro moment of joy and love that happens. It's not a longer thing. So you can actually say, I'm single, you know, and so I can actually feel that love through the connections that I make, and it doesn't even have to be with a significant other.
I love that. It's that
It's available to
oxytocin.
everyone.
Yeah, and I love that. I talk a lot about that in my talk. It's available. And all you have to do, I talk about this in my book too, is that smile, right? Just when we change our physiology, how we use our bodies, smiling, offering gestures, being warm and open to people, it changes our mood. That's what actually, you know, drives our emotions. And so I love what you're saying, and you're spreading, because when you increase that oxytocin with a touch on the arm or just a gesture, oxytocin, when that starts to come into the body, cortisol immediately goes down. And cortisol, as we know, is our stress hormone. So the two can't be there together, like you were saying before. We're
Yeah.
saying the same thing with
So
different
when
research.
we talk, we say when you react, you get a hit of dopamine, and
Mhm,
dopamine, your brain wants you to react, and
mhm.
it's reacting anyway, in reacting out of habit or memory or even fear. You get a hit of dopamine and it feels good because your brain wants to conserve brain power. Dopamine's the same thing you get when you do drugs, when you gamble, when you scroll on your phone. And the problem with dopamine is that it never lasts and it always leaves you wanting more. But when you thoughtfully respond with love, you get a lasting lift. You get a dose, and dose is an acronym of not only dopamine, but you get oxytocin, as you were talking about, the love hormone. You also get serotonin, which is your body's natural mood stabilizer, and endorphins, which is your body's natural painkiller. So when you thoughtfully respond with love, you get this lasting feel good lift. And it's, we go back to this, a choice.
Right back to the choice. And that's what we need to embrace. We forget. Make a sticky note for yourself. You always have a choice how to respond. And I love talking a little bit about the tools, because I feel like when you're giving kids real life tools, something they can have in their tool bag that they don't have now, they're not learning that on social media, right? They're learning how to disconnect, even though they think they're more connected, we're more disconnected.
Right.
And so
Living
how,
somebody else's life.
right, how, like it's that whole, you know, comparison is the thief of our joy, you know. How do you get kids to shift that thought?
From comparison. Well, it's, you know, it starts with loving yourself. And that's the number one lesson that a human being can learn. Love yourself, not the egotistical love. I'm talking about the love and acceptance type of love, that just
Mhm.
that pure understanding that you are more than enough in any moment, that you are worthy. Now you've got a brain that questions that all the time, because your brain is trying to keep you safe. Your brain is trying to keep you in your comfort zone so
Yeah.
that you don't fail, so that you don't get hurt, but then you never grow. So every time you try to get out of that comfort zone, your brain is going to say to you, wait a minute, hold on,
Yeah.
that person's better than you. Why do you even try? You're going to fail. And you need to feel good enough about yourself to say, as you were saying before, Carrie, thank you, brain. I know what you're just trying to keep me safe, but I got this. And you need to feel good about yourself. You know, you need to feel good about yourself when you go on the internet and you see other people. You need to understand that you are worthy and you are good just as you are. You need to be able to look yourself in the eyes in the mirror and say, I love and accept you, and really, really mean that. You need to be able, when somebody gives you a dirty look or says, you know, criticizes you in some way or says something online, bullies you, you need to feel good enough about yourself to understand that you're a mirror for them, and that it's really more their issue. It has nothing to do with you. And then, you know, you can choose love in your response and feel compassion for them, and not
Mhm.
have to have that hurt you. And that's what we teach our kids.
I love that. So powerful. And you also said something that I think is so important that the kids don't understand. It's not what you do, it's who you are. Just being human is enough. The fact that you are on this planet, and if you look at those stats of your chances of getting here on this planet, anyways, are ridiculous. It's like something on a trillion, chances for you to be here in this body,
Right.
in this exact situation, this exact iteration.
Right.
And there's nobody else that can do the things that you might be able to do, what your superpowers are, that anybody can offer what you can in the exact way that you can. That's the beautiful thing. Just being human is enough. And I feel like the kids get all wrapped up in the accomplishments and this and that. It's really
So do
not about
we.
that.
I
We
mean, the
all do.
interesting thing is like I'm I'm in schools a lot, and I'm looking at these middle schoolers and I'm thinking, adults are struggling, and I'll say this sometimes, with exactly the stuff you are. We're struggling with relationships, we're struggling with feeling good enough, we're struggling with the stress of every day, like just like these middle school kids are. And I tell them, learning these essential life skills are going to put you ahead of 99% of other people, because you know, I mean, you have the US Surgeon General that just released this report on how 50% of parents are feeling overwhelmed at any given time. And so, you know, that's hard for parents to model for kids how to move
Mm.
through stress when they're not doing a great job at it themselves.
So true. And I love that you're normalizing that for the kids. Hey, parents go through the same stuff. How many adults do we know that needed this class that didn't get it? This is the class that everybody should have had, right? We
Me,
know that
me.
none of us got, right? It's like I'm self-taught in that department, right? I don't know. I just liked that stuff when I was young. So this is the essential stuff that everybody needs. It's in your toolkit. And when that starts to become the habit, that's when real change starts to happen.
Right. Exactly. And you can make that a habit, and
Absolutely.
it becomes easier every single time you do it incrementally. And it's not that you have to make this huge change, you know, with a broad stroke. It's just little things every single day. It's just, you know, the whole choose love movement started, I say, at Jesse's funeral, when I asked the congregation, because everybody was saying, what can we do? And I said, here's what you can do. This whole tragedy started with an angry thought in Adam Lanza's head. I pictured him as a little boy having an angry thought without the skills, tools, or nurturing environment to manage that thought. That thought, along with other painful events, trauma, most likely abuse, bullying, um, alienation, led to the tragedy. And the amazing thing to me is that a thought could be changed. That initial thought could have been changed anywhere along the way. So I asked everybody in the congregation, start to think about what you think about and change one angry thought a day into a loving thought. I said, by doing that, you'll make yourself feel better. It's pretty simple. Loving, kind, caring, compassionate thoughts feel good. That is reflected in how we treat one another. Angry, hateful, resentful thoughts feel bad. And that is also reflected in our behavior. So you will feel better. And that alone will ripple out to positively impact the world. And so everybody went out to the four corners of the United States and they started calling me, emailing me, texting me about a week later saying that one simple act had completely changed their life. And I knew that I was onto something. That is a fundamental foundation, one of the foundations of the Choose Love movement. It's not difficult rocket science stuff. It's simple stuff, but it's the simple things that can make the most profound difference. And I challenge anybody listening to start to become aware of your thoughts, because remember, every thought that you have impacts you on a cellular level.
Yes.
Every thought impacts every cell. That means that negative thoughts, which by the way, you have the majority of every day, impact you, lead you towards languishing, and positive thoughts lead you towards flourishing. And ultimately it's a choice. So start just by practicing and changing one thought at a time.
Absolutely.
And you will rewire your brain towards positivity. You will fortify yourself from the inside out to be able to choose love, and you will be part of the solution.
I love it. Amen. We're going to be right back and talk a little bit about forgiveness. Don't go anywhere. Scarlett's still here. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Look for the Good. We are having the most incredibly powerful conversation. We could go for a whole nother hour or two, Scarlett and I. We speak the same language here. Talk about forgiveness with us. I mean, there's so much to talk about in this, and you and I both had big things that we had to forgive in our lives. And I know people might think it's a little nutty to actually have compassion for and forgive the person who took your son from you. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's made people angry. But I wanted to be a role model for my son, and I did not want to live in anger and hatred. And I saw a lot of that going on in Sandy Hook. And there was also a lot of blame going towards Adam and his mother, who gave him the guns access anyway. But it was, certainly he is responsible for what happened. But I thought, wow, it seemed to me a little bit of a cop out to solely blame them, because if it was all their fault, it would never have happened before and it would never happen again, but it keeps happening. And that can't be all Adam Lanza's fault. And so, I thought, I'm going to take my part of the responsibility. I don't want to hold on to this pain. I don't want to be a victim. I don't want to pass that down to my son. I don't want him to grow up angry. So I am going to forgive. And, it started from my faith. I believe that you forgive so that you're forgiven. And of course, I have made mistakes as well, as we all have. But I started researching forgiveness and found, just decades of research showing the benefits to those that forgive, including less anger, less stress and anxiety, longer lifespan. I mean, they're, healthier relationships. The benefits are incredible to the forgiver. And then I started listening to people who kind of criticized me for forgiveness, and they were saying, well, it's a gift that you're giving him that he doesn't deserve. And I thought, actually the gift is for myself. I get to let go of the pain. Adam's dead. He doesn't even know that I forgave him. And I'm doing it for myself. I'm not doing it for him. And there was just so many misconceptions. The fact that well, if you forgive, you just have to let it go. You can't hold the person accountable. Well, of course, we're all accountable for our actions and our inactions. That has nothing to do with forgiveness. Forgiveness is simply letting go of the pain. It's not saying it's okay. In fact, that's what we teach. Sometimes people say, oh, I'm sorry I hurt you. That's okay. It's never okay when somebody hurts you. And that's not what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is holding that person accountable, but releasing the pain, not allowing that pain to control you going forward. Think about something, in your past that you're still holding on to, you still pull up every once in a while and ruminate on. It still makes you angry. Your body is still negatively impacted every single time you think of it, and it has control over you. And
Absolutely.
think about what it would feel like to cut that cord or release that backpack, or however, release the balloons, whatever, on that pain, and be free of it. And I think
Yes.
sometimes we're even afraid of, like, wow, if I let go of that pain, what could I do in my life? What would I feel like? I don't even know what life is like without that pain. And I
Right.
didn't want JT to grow up under, like blaming and all of that. And and actually I felt compassion for Adam. I really did. I knew that somebody that could do something so heinous must have been in a tremendous amount of pain. And by the way, it turns out he was bullied, even though the report came out and said there was no sign. I had his classmates tell me how badly he was bullied. He was ostracized. He was often seen in the cafeteria crying and shaking alone.
Oh,
He had cried out for help. He wrote a book called The Book of Granny when he was in 5th grade, going to Sandy Hook Elementary School, by the way.
wow.
It's about a witch that brought a gun into school and murdered children. No one did anything about it. Can you imagine if in my own way as a child, I'm asking for help, I'm telling you this is what I'm thinking, and nobody cares, nobody gives me any attention. And
Wow.
so, and this is what happens often. Attention is the purest form of love. If you don't give me attention for being good, you will give me attention for being bad.
That's so true.
And these school shooters, they know they don't feel worthy of attention, by the way, but they know that they're going to get their picture in the paper, everybody's going to know their name once they perpetrate one of these crimes. And if we gave them attention and love before,
Mhm.
they wouldn't do what they were doing. I mean,
Yeah.
most kids would rather be in the middle of friends doing good things rather than being deviants.
Mhm. Of
And
course.
so we just got to give them a choice. That's what I've been saying from the beginning. I just want everybody to have a choice.
To
And
know
by
they
the
have a
way,
choice. Yeah.
right, and
Yeah.
most people would choose love if they could.
If they could, if they knew how to, and then it
Yeah.
escalates and builds, right? And I love that you said attention is the purest form because they're looking for that. And so they, based on the human needs, it's significance that they're looking for because they feel so insignificant.
And here's the thing, I talk to school shooters as well, because I'm asking them the question nobody else asked them. How did we fail you? These are kids. You've got 6-year-olds bringing guns into school, shooting their teachers. How did we fail you? We're responsible for your safety, health, and well-being. So how did we fail you? And I had the best answer, or the solution to, by a guy that has a viral TED talk. His name is Aaron Stark. He had a plan. He had traded a bag of weed for a gun, so he was definitely going to do it. And one act of human kindness turned it around. But I said to him towards the end of my podcast with him on Choose Love, I said, sometimes I get so overwhelmed by the systems and processes that have to change in order for us to get ahead of all these issues. And he said, no, Scarlett, you're wrong. It has nothing to do with systems and processes. It has everything to do with giving love to those we feel deserve it the least. That's it.
That's so
There you
true.
go.
That is so beautiful
I
because
encourage
yeah,
everyone that's listening, go out and give love to somebody that you feel deserves it the
the
least.
least. Yeah. Well, I read that one time in a parenting book. It said when kids are acting out and acting their worst and they really don't deserve love is when they need it the most. And it's hard.
That's what they're crying out for. They just don't know how to. They're
Mhm.
not using their words. When Adam Lanza wrote that Book of Granny, he was crying out for help and no one listened. No one cared. And you know what? We cared when he perpetrated that crime, when he viciously gunned down 21st graders and 6 educators. There's this African proverb. It says, if the child doesn't feel the warmth of the village, he will leave, but then return and burn it down. And that's what we're seeing now. And we better figure it out and give warmth to these kids, because they are returning to burn down the village. And we know what to do. It does take effort. It's taking the blame out of it, the finger pointing, the fault finding, the polarization, and it's called love. And the sooner we figure it out, the sooner we will ease the suffering that leads to not only violence, but substance abuse, mental illness, and a whole other host of societal ills.
I got chills when you told me all that. That is unbelievable. Tell everybody, where can they find out? Where can they find out about bringing this to their school if they feel like they're so passionate about what they
Yeah,
they
by the
do?
way, we have lifespan programming. We have infant, toddler, pre-K through 12th grade,
Wow.
stuff for homes and communities. And by the way, it is all no cost.
That's
So
amazing.
please, this is the number one most overlooked part of school safety. Please go on our website, chooselovemovement.org, and help us spread the message. That's how we've spread this to almost 10 million kids now. That was an old number. Over 15,000 schools in 120 countries by
Wow.
word of mouth and referral of the program. So please help us spread this. Spread it on social media. Tell your friends. Approach your school. It's the best thing you can do for your kids, to have your kids see you be proactive, to ask your school, hey, do you have an essential life skills program? Your school should be able to say, yes, we do. And it's called, and this is how often we teach it. And your child should be coming home and talking about it. And if they're not, say, hey, I just listened to this woman and the website is chooselovemovement.org. Please check it out, and then follow up with them and make sure that they did.
I love that. Contact the school psychologist, because start
And you will
anywhere.
feel better doing
Yeah.
a positive action. You know, everybody's got this little fear in the back of their head if they have kids in school. You will feel better doing a positive action. You will put down that fear and that anxiety, and your child will have more confidence in you. They will see that you actually care. And these are hard conversations, but them just seeing you advocate on their behalf will help their anxiety and fear as well.
Absolutely. Amen. So well put. This has been unbelievable having you on the show here today, Scarlett. Your passion is palpable, and your joy. You have found your joy again, and you're out there helping all these children. And thank you so much for coming on today and for everything that you're doing to save the world and our kids and make it a safer place to be.
Thank you, Carrie, so much.
Thank you so much. Be well. And remember, everybody, it is never too late to live your best story. Be well.
Thanks for tuning in to Look for the Good with your host, Carrie Rowan, best-selling author and mindset coach. Join us every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. right here at Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. If you weren't able to catch an episode, no worries. Just visit our website to find all the archived episodes of Look for the Good on demand, so you don't miss a thing. And remember, it's never too late to live your best story. For additional resources or to find out about how you can work with Carrie directly, visit carrierowan.com for more details.